Good afternoon, all. I, Dr. Swapnil Bharadwaj, welcome you all to the first thematic session of Institutional Development Plans for Holistic Development on the topic Actionable Agenda for Institutional Development Plan. The duration of the session is 90 minutes and will be opened by a chair. Each speaker will have around 25 minutes for their address and 25 minutes will be kept for question answers and discussion. I now request our session chair, Professor Bansal, and speakers, Professor Gaurisha Joshi and Professor Rajendra Kumar Joshi, to please come up on the dais. Professor Prakash Bansal is the Vice Chancellor of the Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. A distinguished academic leader, he has earlier served as Vice Chancellor of Himachal Pradesh Technical University, Himachal Pradesh University, Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalay, and as the founder, Vice Chancellor of Maharaja Agrasen University, Solan. He is also a member of the Governing Council of the Association of Indian Universities and is associated with several national academic and policy bodies. Professor Gaurisha Joshi is a professor and director at the Center for Educational and Social Studies, Bangalore, a specialist in quality education management and NGO administration. Sir holds a PhD from Bangalore University and has served as chief consultant to the Technical Secretariat for the National Education Policy. His work focuses on educational reforms, institutional development, and capacity building in the social sector. Professor Rajendra Kumar V. Joshi is a senior consultant, philosopher, and faculty trainer. He holds an MA in philosophy from Bangalore University and a doctoral degree from Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Bombay. He is currently adjunct faculty at the School of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. His work integrates philosophy, ethics, and leadership development in higher education and training. As a token of our gratitude, I now request Dr. Neelam Bageshwari to present mementos to our dignitaries. I now request our session chair, Professor Bansal, for his initiating remarks.
Thank you and welcome back in the session. Though we can understand that it's very difficult to be after taking lunch. After lunch, very difficult to be here, to sit in the session. But I am very much hopeful that it will be very fruitful in the sense because since in the morning, whether we have listened to the Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister and inaugural speakers, the whole essence was based on institutional development. Without institutional development planning, nothing is possible. And therefore, This session is really very important, and it is my privilege to be here in this session on institutional development plan for holistic development. And we have two speakers with us. Professor Gorisha Joshi, his director says Bangalore, and another speaker is Professor Rajinder Kumar Vijoshi. Joshi Scare we have in the session. He is senior consultant, says Bengaluru. We have about 85 minutes, and we have to bind up this session in time, and we will try to keep more time for the question answer. Here in front of us, Vice Chancellor Professor Sanjeev Jain, Central University Jammu is sitting. Two directors, Director I am from Nagpur and Shillong. They are, and since morning we are listening on the same topic. And rather I can say that the topic is a very relevant in the sense that at a time when higher education is undergoing unprecedented transformation, and the concept of institutional development plan or IDP has moved far beyond our regulatory requirements, and today IDP represents the Professor Rao in the morning was also mentioning that the strategic conscious of the institution. That is very important, which we can say that it is a living document that reflects the institution's vision, values, priorities, and more important, its responsibilities towards the society. Holistic development, when we talk about the theme of our session, reminds us that the higher educational institutions, universities, or the institutions are not merely centers for knowledge transmission or degree production. They are ecosystem of human development. A truly holistic IDP must therefore integrate academic excellence with the research innovation, with the students' well-being, with ethical leadership, social responsibility, and digital readiness, and more important as for NEP as well, the global engagement. All just now 5 years of NEP implementation is completed, and institutional autonomy and institutional accountability go hand in hand, and therefore for that purpose IDP becomes a powerful tool to translate autonomy into action, showing institutions to define their unique identity while aligning with the national priorities such as multidisciplinary education, inclusion, or we are talking about the sustainability and employability. And in our higher educational institutions, again and again we have conducted a lot of seminars, lot of workshops based on NEP, and because lot we deliberate on NEP, and Viksit Bharat, when we link it up with the Viksit Bharat 2047, and when we are saying that we are preparing the agenda, future agenda for the future, this our youth for Viksit Bharat 2047, and the central question before us is no longer what the policy aspires to achieve, but the main question is that how each institution can translate the vision into a measurable and sustainable action. आज हम जब सभी मिलकर के बात करते हैं शिक्षा प्रणाली की, और हमें भी ये भी पता है कि भारत आज एक ऐसे युग की तरफ अग्रसर है जहां जब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि शिक्षा का विस्तार तो हुआ पर शिक्षा का विकास नहीं हुआ। जब हम शिक्षा के विकास की बात करते हैं तो हमें लगता है कि प्रत्येक राष्ट्र व संस्कृति के विकास के 3 महत्वपूर्ण आयाम, पहला भाषा, दूसरा शिक्षा और तीसरा शोध। लेकिन वट एवर द एजुकेशन टिल डेट वी हैड in our higher educational institutions, we don't have our own language, we don't have our own education, we don't have our own research, and that's the reason मैं एक इंस्टीट्यूशन में जब गया, इंस्टीट्यूशन में वो इंस्टीट्यूशन 100 साल पुराना था। जब उन्होंने विजन की बात की तो जो 100 साल पहले हमने विजन बनाया था वही विजन जो है उनके डॉक्यूमेंट्स में भी और अदरवाइज भी दे आर वर्किंग ऑन दैट विजन। और व्हेन वी हैव अडॉप्टेड द नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, और आज जब हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत और विकसित भारत 2047 की बात करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि ऑटोमेटिकली हमारा जो विजन है वो एनईपी के मुताबिक विकसित भारत के अनुरूप होना चाहिए। और आज जब हम शिक्षा की बात करते हैं तो आज हम, क्योंकि होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, आज हम जब शिक्षा की बात कर रहे हैं तो आज हम समग्र विकास शिक्षा की बात करते हैं। आज जब हम शिक्षा की बात करते हैं तो आज हम एकात्म मानववाद शिक्षा की बात करते हैं। आज जब हम शिक्षा की बात करते हैं तो भारतीय एकात्म दृष्टि शिक्षा की बात करते हैं। आज जब हम युवा भारत की बात करते हैं तो स्वतः ही हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात करते हैं। और उस समग्र विकास शिक्षा के लिए जो इस युवा शक्ति को हम सौंपने जा रहे हैं एजेंडा विकसित भारत 2047 का, तो उसमें यह आता है कि क्योंकि जब तक एजुकेशन, वो फिलॉसफी ऑफ एजुकेशन नहीं होगी तब तक हम आत्मनिर्भर विद्यार्थी की बात नहीं कर सकते। जब तक इनोवेशंस नहीं होगा क्लास में, क्योंकि कहते हैं ना कि नवाचार ही वे चिंगारी है जो शिक्षा को ज्ञान से बुद्धिमत्ता की यात्रा पर ले जाती है। और जब शिक्षा सोचने की आजादी देती है तभी राष्ट्र प्रगति पर बढ़ता है। If we don't have that kind of innovations in the classroom, so we cannot create best minds, because it's very important to create the best minds instead of the best brain, क्योंकि ब्रेन ड्रेन हो जाता है लेकिन माइंड ड्रेन नहीं होता। माइंड्स वो हैं जो कि सीधे सीधे समाज के साथ जुड़े हों। और क्योंकि आईएम्स के डायरेक्टर्स यहाँ बैठे हैं, एंड व्हेन आई वाज इन द बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर ऑफ 2 IIMs, उस टाइम भी मैंने ये डिस्कस किया था। जब मैं वहाँ डिस्कस करता था फैकल्टी से और स्टूडेंट से, उस टाइम भी हमारी यही चर्चा होती थी कि हम इतने रिसोर्सेज यूज़ कर रहे हैं। और एक इंस्टीट्यूशन की जब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, वहाँ पर हमने जब 3 साल का डाटा लिया, 3 साल में लगभग 40% विद्यार्थी MBA करने के बाद आइदर दे मूव आउट, और जिस पर्पज़ के लिए जितना रिसोर्सेज उनके ऊपर हमने खर्च किया था वो उनका हमें कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा लगा कि वो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा पर्पस डिफीट हो रहा है। तो उसका पर्पस यही था कि हमने बेस्ट ब्रेन तो तैयार कर दिए हैं लेकिन बेस्ट माइंड हम तैयार नहीं कर पाए हैं। एंड देयरफॉर इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नीड टू एंगेज द इमेजिनेशन ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स। इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नीड टू प्रोवाइड द स्किल्स टू ऑर्गेनाइज एंड थॉट्स कोहेरेंटली। दैट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट शिक्षा, when we talk about the education, at the same time we also need to talk about the actual learning which it is required by the students. Learning to know, जानने के लिए सीखना, learning to do, करने के लिए सीखना, learning to live together, और learning to be, होने के लिए सीखना, self realization. of the student, that is very important, because life is a collection of change. So don't avoid just change. Some changes gives the success, some act as a stepping stone. Therefore try to change the challenge, don't challenge the change. हम जब आज विश्व के सबसे बड़ा शिक्षा तंत्र की बात करते हैं तो हमें यह भी भूलना नहीं चाहिए कि हमारे भारतवर्ष का शिक्षा तंत्र दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा शिक्षा तंत्र है, जहां हमारे पास 25 करोड़ स्टूडेंट्स हायर एंड स्कूल के मिला करके 25 करोड़ विद्यार्थी, जहां आज हमारे पास लगभग 1 करोड़ टीचर्स, जहां आज हम जीआर की बात करते हैं तो जीआर स्कूल एजुकेशन की बात करते हैं तो वो लगभग 93% और 100% हमारा टारगेट है एज पर एनईपी, जहां आज हमारे पास 28.7% जो है जीईआर जो आज हायर एजुकेशन में है, और हम जो है 50% हायर एजुकेशन की जीईआर 35 तक पहुंचने का आज हम एनईपी के बात कर रहे हैं। लेकिन एक सबसे बड़ा, बस मैं ख़त्म करना चाहूँगा, लेकिन एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट बात करते हुए क्योंकि हम स्पीकर्स को सुनने यहाँ बैठे हैं, और हमारे पास डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड है, ये हम सबको मालूम है। हमारे पास डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड का मैं एक पहलू लूँगा, केवल बाकी पहलू नहीं लूँगा। आज जब हम बात करते हैं मीडियन एज की, तो भारत की जो मीडियन एज है वो 28 ईयर्स है एज कम्पेयर टू चाइना। द मीडियन एज ऑफ चाइना इज 39 ईयर एंड मीडियन एज ऑफ जापान इज 49 ईयर। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जितना हमारे पास आज यूथ है, यूथ शक्ति है, वो आने वाले कई सालों तक हमारा भारत जो है उनके दम पर बहुत युवा रहने वाला है। एंड दिस इज अ डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड। और हमें यह भी पता है कि 68% भारतीय आबादी जो है वो कार्यशील आयु वर्ग में है। तो ये हुआ कि 2035 तक भारत में लगभग 1 अरब कार्यशील आयु नागरिक होंगे, लार्जेस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। लेकिन फिर गैप कहाँ है? हम जब स्किल की बात करते हैं, दोबारा स्किल की बात कर रहे हैं, और हमें ये भी पता है कि भारत के पास इतनी क्षमता है, और हमें ये भी पता है कि लगभग 30 करोड़ जो है स्किल मैन पावर पूरे दुनिया को अगले 2 साल में चाहिए, और हमें ये भी पता है कि 70% जो कैपेसिटी है वो भारत के पास है स्किल मैन पावर पूरे दुनिया को देने की। फिर वो गैप कहाँ आ रहा है? वो गैप यहीं आ रहा है कि हमें ये लगता है कि आज जो है भारत के पास संसाधन का भंडार तो है, लेकिन इसे कौशल व उत्पादकता में बदलना बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है, क्योंकि डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड नीड टू कन्वर्ट इनटू अ डेमोग्राफिक पावर। वो पावर जो है वो शिक्षित, कुशल, नवाचारी, उद्यमी और तकनीकी रूप से सक्षम युवा शक्ति, सक्षम जनशक्ति हमारे को बनाना है। आज भी हमने इतने प्रयास कर लिए, हमारे पास गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की इतनी स्कीम्स चली हुई हैं स्किल एडवोकेशन के लिए, लेकिन हमें आज भी जो है हमारी परसेंटेज जो है वो क्यों 5% के आसपास ही घूम रही है? क्यों आज यूएसए की 52% है? क्यों आज साउथ कोरिया की 93% है? इस पर बहुत जल्दी ध्यान देना होगा। और अगर इतनी बड़ी युवा आबादी शिक्षा, रोजगार व कौशल से वंचित रहती है तो डिविडेंड जो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड है इट विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू अ डेमोग्राफिक बर्डन। और आईएलओ के मुताबिक, इंटरनेशनल लेबर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के मानना है कि कौशल की कमी को अगर ये दूर नहीं किया गया तो 2030 तक अपनी संभावित जीडीपी का 6 से 7% केवल और केवल इस वजह से भारत जो है वो लूज भी कर सकता है। तो कितना बड़ा चैलेंज हमारे सामने है मुझे लगता है। तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जब आज हम बात कर रहे हैं, जब हम पॉलिसी मेकिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, आज हम विजन की बात कर रहे हैं, जब हम विकसित भारत की बात कर रहे हैं, और हमें पता है कि आज विकसित भारत में पूरी दुनिया ने आज भारत का लोहा माना है, तो हम क्यों ना आज हम अपने विजन को आज हमारी जो विजन है आज उस ढंग से हम जो है इस पे चर्चा करें। आओ आज हम इस सत्र में, मुझे लगता है कि जब हम वापस जाएंगे तो मुझे लगता है कि कुछ इस तरह का आउटकम हमारे इस सत्र से निकलेगा। हमारे स्पीकर्स यहाँ बैठे हैं ताकि हम कुछ जो हैं पॉलिसी डिसीजन मेकिंग के लिए और फ्यूचर इंडिया के लिए, फ्यूचर रेडीनेस के लिए कुछ कर पाएँ। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू इन्वाइट फर्स्टली टू प्रोफेसर गोरीशा जोशी जी, डायरेक्टर सेस बेंगलुरु, for your remarks. Slide more. Yeah. Namaste to all. Respected chairperson and all the dignitaries of the dais. I thank the chairperson for setting the context for the entire discussion. The morning also we had a very meaningful session on the UGC's enablers for development of institutional plan. Now we are going to set an actionable agenda for developing and further taking it to the next level, that is implementation of our own institutional development plan over a period of time, with achieving all the milestones, with all the effectiveness and contributing to the larger objective, not just education but the national priorities. Having said this, I will first quote a couple of cases which most of you are also aware, just to give an introduction about the entire planning that we are actually discussing now. The first one is relating to, because I keep travel even to the countryside as well as to the state capitals. One of the rural college, I was there to discuss on the national education policy implementation. They said, sir, our college is very small college run by a society. Every day we struggle for the money, funds. We have faculty who are committed to my institutions and doing good. I cannot produce the whatever that you are expecting in terms of numbers, the big research, because even spending money from the student fund, it is not happening. It is not happening from the fee. It is all that what is the trust is providing us the funds and we are managing the institution. And I asked, what is finally your objective goal? What is that you would like to achieve as an institution? Because you are there for last 50 plus years and providing education to rural areas. He said, our mission is very simple, sir. We would like to provide the education to the rural students to come up in their life. That's all is our goal, and that's the motto of our institution. Fine. You have to check whether you are doing that or not, that's all. The case number two, there are many forward-looking institutions already achieved many milestones and they are on the good rankings and accreditation. They would like to become center of excellence and reach offshore campuses, offer dual degree programs and completely implement whatever they said in the national education policy. I think they have set already their standards and also they have set their goals for the future, next 10 years where they would like to see themselves in the global scenario or at least in the national level. The third categories of institutions are basically the premier institutions and the institution of national importance. They are there to give the best stand to go for innovations and bring the excellence in whatever they do. So we are not expecting them to from a good teaching from them. I think we are expecting more than that they are doing quite well for a couple of years now. So they have a new standards now, new goals, targets they have set themselves through their own planning process. Then the last case is my own university, which CES is sponsoring, that is Chanakya University in Bangalore. We are a new university. Now we started working on developing our own plan for next 15 years at least, with all the 5 years benchmarks and things like that. So now we have a very tough time because national education policy is implemented and a lot of challenge that we are facing and the new university. So but what is that we are aspiring to become in next 5 years, 10 years and 15 years. So it's a wonderful exercise for us at the Chanakya University, developing that particular plan, whether we call it as institution development plan or strategic plan. So these are the 4 cases right in front of you. So you can move on with the slide. Yeah. That means every institution has their own purpose and they have their own goal, vision and mission.
Sometimes there is no need to rewrite the vision also. To what kind of a area or for which purpose they are actually serving. I think that is most important in our context. The beauty of the national education policy, it not only talks about the excellence on the one side, it also talks about upliftment of all the institutions in the country which are serving the rural mass, providing the basic necessaries of education with some kind of a quality, and how to push them to the next level. So that's where the local to the global that we are talking about. The beauty of the NEPs, it gives autonomy to every institution to look at their future, visualize it, plan for the same, and put your entire efforts to achieve it in over a period of time. So that's where the context of IDP, how to bring, many times it confuses me also. After working with couple of universities and colleges on working on the assessment accreditation side as well as improving their teaching learning to the plannings, to the extent of planning, so it confuses me also many a times. Anyway, the agenda that what we are now, we have two actually angle for our agenda, actionable agenda. One is how to prepare IDP, and second one is what should go to the IDP. So there are the two actionable agenda that we are going to discuss, myself and Professor Rajendra Kumar Joshi. For normally our sessions are known as Joshi and Joshi session. Next. Yeah, I think the larger context that every speaker normally mentions about the NEP recommendations, alignment to the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan, and we are looking forward for the new framework for assessment and accreditation, and bearing on the fund, and last one is very, very important. I think if you had gone through the VBSA bill, it also mentions very clearly, I think that the clues have been taken from the national education policy, the spirit is carried here. So the IDP is going to become one of the important documents for the regulatory purpose and as well as for assessment and accreditation purpose. So that means in the days to come, IDP is going to become kind of a mandatory document for funding, for regulation, renewal of your license, get accredited. For all this purpose, IDP is going to become one of the key document. And what VBSA NEP talks about, the self-disclosure, transparency, putting the all data onto the website for the public disclosure, for everything, what is that yardstick to see whether you are doing or you are following something, on what basis you are given the approval, and finally, so what is that makes you to do all this, that comes from the National IDP, Institutional Development Plan. So as a matter of accountability, establishing the accountability, so this document is going to become one of the important document. So there are two things, one is letter and spirit. The moment we say the VBSA bill, regulatory, accreditation, the funding, the IDP is must, then it is letter. So what is the spirit then? I think that's where we need to discuss as academicians and leaders at all levels in education. So we are moving towards compliances to commitment. So I think most of the time we, waste, or I don't know, we are utilizing our time for many compliances. Now I think this is a great opportunity the educational institutions in the country is getting to shift from compliances to commitment, and this is what the spirit I am talking about. Next. This is the scenario, I think morning also Professor was talking on this. So we are now aiming to become a global knowledge superpower and build the institutions at par with the global level institutions and bring that excellence. On the other hand, still we are working on accessibility, affordability, equity, and the sentence that we are taking as a combining all the pillars, that is providing, or getting access to affordable quality education for all. So that is the new mantra. So where quality is added, but again the thing is, it must be affordable, accessibility should be there, and it is for all means equity and inclusion. So that's actually the main principle of National Education Policy 2020. And now when you say this statement, automatically it leads to another one, that is accountability. So these are all the things which making us to, set our own goals, targets in short term to the long term. So that's the reason IDP is not a government document or a compliance document. This is our own commitment for our own institutional development. So the beautifully point, it is an institutional development plan. It is not to fulfill certain requirements, regulatory requirements, or provide the document to the assessment and accreditation agency. It is beyond that. This is to have my own milestones, which I would like to reach in couple of years from now, putting all my effort, whether it is human resource or building or all other infrastructure and funding, research, innovation. Again, let me quote again from where I started. It is according to your own institutional vision, maybe an old vision, absolutely no problem. So contemporarily, how we have to put into the actions, I think that becomes more important, and that's where you become relevant for today and tomorrow. In that context, so which community or which section of the society or which geographical area, so for which purpose you are serving, are you able to achieve that meaningfully, effectively? I think that's where done with your all the targets that you have set. So in the process, because no institution would like to stay remained as certain levels, they always look for more students, starts a new campus, let's go for a benchmarking, accreditation, ranking, NRF and global ranking, QS, etc. So I think maybe the phase may be different. All the cars will not go in the same speed, and sometimes road also doesn't permit for that. More than road, sometimes even the signal lights, the regulatory framework will not permit for that speed. So if we're keeping in that mind, how that institution visualize its own growth, so that's actually the spirit of this institutional development plan. So I am preparing this for my own development, my own growth. I am not doing it for a compliances, because I have to submit it to accreditation agency, regulatory agency, funding agency. So that's where I get my fund. No, it is beyond that, because this is where I am looking at my own institutional growth. So that's the reason I am planning. So if you keep that spirit, so we'll go to the next slide. So in the largely, why we are doing all this, that's where I think we need to link today to the national priorities. So I will give a simple example, a rural area college, I will take again. So they would like to serve that rural community of 25 kilometers range. I think that is always linked to the national priority. You take the Viksit Bharat goal, what are the 5 pillars are there? So this education institution is serving one of the pillar. So otherwise you lose that particular community, student from that community, from that locality. So an institution which is working for an excellence and bringing, putting their mark on the global scenario, so they are also contributing to the Viksit Bharat. So I think we need, and we must understand these levels are always there, and I think we need to give what needs to be done for these institutions and what is required for these institutions to move on the ladder and also do and achieve whatever the targets they have in sync with the national priorities. So are they contributing for that? So that is where I am looking at the exercise of developing an institutional development plan. So now this is not a centralized system that somebody is asking the institutions to prepare IDP. So I am observing the many institutions, specifically directly comes under the central government, are now preparing IDPs, and they are putting on their website, and also I think so they submitted to the regulatory agencies, etc. I think it percolates to even the last institution where they need to start working on this IDP. It is not just a job of vice chancellor or a principal or a leader of the institution. I think it is the job of all the stakeholders, specifically those who are directly linked with the institutions. So from the centralized to the individual higher education institution, this plan goes. That's the reason when you are developing a plan, it is not just an institutional plan developed by a committee or an individual or a head of the institution. That is from each individual who are working and contributing in the institution. Maybe an external person and maybe an internal person, what we call external and internal stakeholders. So students have a say here, alumni has a say here, faculty has to work, and all the unit level plans should come together and should make institutional development plan. In some cases we are going in a wrong direction, that we are preparing an institutional plan and going to the units. I think that will not work. So if the unit level, department level, division level, if they prepare a plan and next integrate at the institution level, I think that works better. So that's where I'm talking about the from centralized to the individual higher education institution level, this planning is shift. So now the moment you prepare your own plan and you are submitting to all the bodies and you are giving it for assessment and accreditation, so that means you are saying that I am committed to it, not only that I am accountable for the same. So accountability and the self-disclosure norms also will be there, and it is my own commitment, so through which I am assuring not the regulatory agency, I am not assuring to the assessment accreditation agency, I am actually assuring to the students who are coming to us, the faculty who are working in the institutions. And finally, it is my own accountability or commitment to my own vision, and I am as a management or as trust, I am running this institution, so it is finally my own institutional growth. The entire perspective of this plan, I think many a times we talk from the letter point of view, that is regulatory point of view, etc. The spirit point is it is for my own institutional development. So this perspective will definitely add value to entire our exercise. So our planning is not that we sit, a few of us sit and do the things, and there is a process. I think that's where the previous speaker in the morning stopped. There is a process. So that process actually, we can make it meaningful process if we really think about establishing those accountability within our plan and spread that across the entire institution, so that effective implementation becomes possible in a very easy way or in a handy way. So otherwise, plans will remain as plans, I think, and the implementation we miserably fail. And again, we will all stand up to say that good plan, but we failed in implementation. And we quote all historical facts. So this was happened in our country. So one more that we have done. So I think the very important thing which I said, compliances to commitment, that is nothing but outcome focus rather than the input. So I think tomorrow you have a session on the assessment, or in the next session, assessment accreditation linking to the IDP. So the entire, what is that happening, the thinking level at least, which I am aware, A also comes with an outcome based approach. So that entire, even VBSA bill is completely on the outcome that is focused. What is expected from this institution? So what outcome is going to come from the system? So from institution to the system level. So that's the reason the focus is on outcome, not on the input. And I think the very important thing is, what is that I am going to achieve from all this? Because NEP has given certain kind of a roadmap for all of us, and subsequent a lot of guidelines, documents have come, regulations, etc. So where we would like to see, or what is the path we have chosen for next at least 15 years till 2040, let us say. So that is basically to make our own institutions multidisciplinary institution which provides holistic nature of education with the learner-centric approach. So the whole exercise, what is that we have to do as an institution, the primary thing is how to build this learner-centric, multidisciplinary, holistic education institution. I think that's the first thing, the very foundation that we need to look into as a target. So that's the reason there are 9 enablers are there, it is integrated in that also, but more specifically where all types of institutions are there. So I think that is the very primary thing. So how I have to develop this? My institution should become multidisciplinary, offering a multidisciplinary programs. And I must approach. It is very easy to conduct a workshops and say all the faculty you start tomorrow all experiential learning and learner-centric approach. I think that requires time, and again lot of interventions has to be done. What is my plan for that? So all this we should not miss in a hurry, that I look at the very high level kind of standards, and it is possible for some of the creamy layer institutions but not for all. And I think this is where the 3 things which IDP largely, so if you would like to define what is that IDP, it's actually planning of my own initiatives, assess our own progress and reach the goals, and look at the things and do assessment, and if necessary plan it again, revisit. So plan is not a static document. So your own plan after few years, revisit, redo the work, do modifications, if necessary take all the corrective actions. Before UGC came up with the 9 enablers framework, the Capacity Building Commission of India have come up this particular Panchamrita framework for IDP. Again, there are 5 things are there, but it is largely covered, not completely covered in IDP of UGC document as well. So, the governance part, teaching learning as a very critical factor, technology, that is the time which we are now, a lot of technological shifts happening, and outreach and partnerships. I think institutions are quite good in this, many institutions, how to build on that, and finally research and skill development. I think these are the 5 things, the powerful package given by the central agency to think about in the initial stages of implementation of NEP. So, I will go to the next slide. Yeah, for me the first thing is, as I already mentioned, how to make my institution a multidisciplinary education institution with a learner-centric approach. Many a times we will not understand, I need to have a plan for my own pedagogical advancement, institutionalization of learner-centric education, and also bring the innovations in very primary duty of a particular educational institution. So, I think normally we miss on that. So, what mechanism that we work out for next couple of years. Faculty professional development, I think to whatever that you prepare an IDP, you talk about the big programs, multidisciplinary, all the things, but finally who delivers, it is the faculty members. I think there is a need. The recent study which CES has conducted, my own organization has conducted by number of states that we have done a large survey, it has clearly shows what gaps are there in faculty development. So, I think it is the one of the very key thing that is to be addressed immediately. Otherwise, what is that always we talk about effective implementation, it never happens. So, the faculty has to take it to the ground level, to the grassroots level, to the classroom, so to the students. So, that is the reason I think a lot of investment, the institutions as well as the system should do, otherwise we will again make the same complaint tomorrow. Access and equity, still it is an issue today. So, I think how to make the inclusivity, how to bring the inclusivity, you should be focus of an institution. So, not as a regulatory or a mandatory affair. Next one. So, finally, I will just talk about the funding and then I will go to the assessment accreditation. So, the IDP is one of the key things even for deciding on the funding. So, I plan everything, research, innovations, my infrastructure, my faculty development and curriculum, what program I am going to offer, everything that I plan with all the enablers finally comes to the, whether you have money or not. I think we need to have a complete, workable, feasible, very pragmatic financial plan for my own institution. So, whether I get fund from the government or if it is a private institution, is that fees are going to serve me, or I have an access to other type of funds, or trust is supporting, or what are the other type of options which I have. So, I think it is not just your operational functional kind of a funding that I am talking about, for all the overall development which you have already planned through your IDP, which you would like to reach or would like to achieve, whether my financial plan serving that or not. So, that is the entire discussion we need to do while preparing the plan. Finally, I will come to assessment accreditation. Now we are A plus, some grades we will get, but now onwards I think we will move to the maturity based grading system. So, as we become matured in our institutional quality management and achievement, so we get good grading as well as we get autonomy. So, the autonomy status of an institution is very much linked with the maturity based accreditation, assessment and accreditation process. In the whole thing, if you look at even the VBSA bill, it talks about very clearly. So, and NEP has given this from a degree, from a normal college, affiliated college to degree granting college, and having the classification of research intensive and teaching intensive universities, and even building to the global level. I think if any institution is aspiring to become an autonomous degree granting college in next 10-15 years, I think your plan should also be integrated with how I move on the assessment and accreditation process. Your 9 enablers explicitly will not talk about. The basic funda thing is, if you do this 9, you will get assessment accreditation. But keeping an eye, planning for your assessment and quality enhancement is an essential ingredient. Whether you part of your 9 enablers or not, must be go into the discussion and details of your IDP. So next, I'm stopping. Yes, I'm on time. So it is programmed here after conducting so many programs. Anyway, that's what the very important thing is. Look at your institution and prepare the plan. So not from the compliance point of view, letter and the spirit. So first look at the spirit. So letter will always be try to meet. So then I think we'll be able to not only develop a good IDP, but really pragmatically we can implement the IDP and see that success in our institution linking to the national priorities. Thanks a lot for listening to me. Joshi sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful address. I now welcome Professor Rajendra Kumar V. Joshi for his address.
Good afternoon. Chair Professor Bansal, esteemed guests, audiences, vice chancellors, leaders, and my colleague Gaurish. As Gaurish mentioned, it's a bit of a jugalbandi. I continue from where he has left off. Okay. Before that, let me set a few things. The morning session, after the inaugural, when we had a session here, we had an excellent session on case of IIM, where Professor Rai talked about wonderful. I enjoyed that presentation. But I want to bring the other part of it, which is our larger picture as a nation. I think it was Amartya Sen who said some years ago that India's best is also world's best. But our problem is our average. India's best is definitely world's best, but our average is an issue. And what is our average in the context of higher education? Okay. Even today, we have about, I think the data was given by Professor Rai, around 50,000 colleges exist. That's a number, highest number, very large number of colleges. But more significant than that is 85% of our enrollment is in undergraduate education. Yeah. And in fact, across the world, this is true and definitely true of India. For 80 to 85% of the students, first degree is the terminal degree. They do not pursue anything beyond that. I'm only saying this to highlight how critical it is to focus on undergraduate education, and which will help us to raise our average if we have to meet all the possibilities that exist for us as a nation today. Everybody is saying this is an era which belongs to us as a nation. But without, as the chair was saying earlier, without right kind of education, well-equipped human resource, the so-called demographic dividend will become a demographic drag on the nation. So our average has to move and move up. So let's look at IDP as an instrument of that kind of a change. Okay? It may sound a little pedantic when I say this. I was talking to some of colleagues. They were making fun of NAC. So what happened after NAC? All people did was to paint their buildings and presented it. I said, don't make light of this, what they have done. Because many of them at least did that after many years. It's not a small thing. It hadn't happened for many years. Okay? So there is a possibility of a movement. It becomes an instrument. It may not move exactly at the pace we want, exactly the way we want it. That depends on so many other factors. But the fact remains that IDP, let's also look at IDP as an instrument of this possibility of raising our average. Okay? Keeping what are possible for us today, one as an institution and also as a society. Can we move it? So, Gaurish talked about what is its role, how does it fit into larger context of accreditation, funding, teaching, learning and other things. Now the real crux is how do we do it? I mean, we also need to be aware of the process, okay? And the process obviously starts with some smaller group of people set there. They take up the task of thinking of institution in a long range, at least about 15 years, what we want to achieve. And what an institution can achieve in 15 years is not the same for every institution. It is, IDP is only helping us to stretch as much as we can stretch. So it is about our stretchability. It is tempting us to stretch and stretch. Obviously, some people can stretch more than some others. That's the reality. Yeah? The committee obviously has a consultation with various stakeholders. We'll come to that. And also, it's very important to arrive at, the IDP is a child of NEP. Okay? So what is the expectation of NEP? In fact, we jointly did at least, I think, maybe 100 or so NEP awareness programs in different colleges after the policy was approved by the Government of India. And one of our questions used to be, to the faculty and even the leadership in the colleges. We largely went to colleges or state universities. How many of you have read the policy document? And this is what they have said. Yeah, you wanted to say? Oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, thanks for responding. I was not raising a question. It was a rhetorical one. I was telling you what we did. Somebody immediately said, she was prompt enough to say, no, I have read. Thank you for that. When we asked, usually the number of people who have read the document is generally never crossed single digit. This was a tragedy. And we used to, in fact, later we even started saying, take the higher education component only of the NEP, which is about 30 odd pages out of the 60 and odd pages, and send it by mail and tell the college that please circulate this to everybody so that at least you push them to read. It improved a little but not much. But they all had a lot of anxieties. There were questions, criticisms, no, this won't work, this is some fancy thing, this is American, this is that. Yeah? But the point is, all their anxieties largely came from newspaper headlines. I think it's very important if we are setting into the task of setting up our IDP for wherever I am, whichever institution I belong to, I think I need to understand NEP thoroughly, both the letter and the spirit. What does it say? I think it's one of the most important documents we have produced in last 3 decades. Yeah. So therefore, definitely, I think it is worth a serious read. So first requirement for preparation is look at the policy, understand, perhaps discuss among ourselves as a community of whichever institution we belong to. Seek some guidance. If there is a doubt, somebody else will be there around to clarify it. So that's very important. Then we set our own vision, our own goals, and it always depends on, I think it was, I don't remember who said it, one of the American presidents. The question is always, what can I do with where I am and what I have? That's the, in life, that is a primary question. It's not where I am or what I am, but with this, what can I do? So our vision goal has 2 elements. One is the sky where I want to reach. Okay. Hopefully, if I don't reach the sky, at least I'll reach the treetop. But I am also rooted. I know my reality. My college has not been painted for years, or there is less faculty, or there is a money issue, the kind of students, there could be plethora. I'm sure all of us are aware of it. We all come from different kinds of institutions. So our visioning, our goal setting has to depend on our context. Next one, please. So stakeholders are a variety of them. We need to look at all of them because I think more consultation, though it is sometimes quite tedious to consult. It is very tempting to, somebody sit and do it, but I think it is still worth it. If we want the ownership, then consultation is a must. I think after AICTE made, I worked in the engineering education space for quite some time, did a lot of training with engineering college teachers for about 8-9 years. I must have visited around at least 250 engineering colleges across the country. Everybody, AICTE made it mandatory, everybody has put vision, mission, there are big boards, okay. If we randomly ask a faculty member or a student, can you please tell me what is your vision and mission? Okay. We know the answer, yeah. So, that is because it has been prepared by the leadership, perhaps in with a consultant helping us to write, which is a reality again. Yeah? Yeah. Therefore, in fact, I worked in an undergraduate aided college in a very small town to begin my career. And my principal had a very nasty habit. We had our vision and mission, and he will stand outside when the college starts. That was his everyday practice. He will just catch hold of any student, any teacher, say, what is the vision mission? Early morning, this is 8:30 question, okay. And of course, you don't expect, so suddenly perhaps you cannot even recall. And he had a very nice, he was a very benign man, not at all threatening. He says, okay, take out your ID card, because we had printed it behind the ID card. Read it in front of me once, okay, now go. So, I mean, that may not be the only way of doing it. That may not be the optimum way of doing it. I am not recommending it to everybody, yeah. Even I was bugged when it was done to me. But the fact is, I think it drove an important lesson. Unless there is an ownership on what we set, it's very difficult to fulfill, or it is very difficult to work towards it and face all the hardships that come along the way. Yeah. Otherwise, it will be not possible. Yeah. Okay, there are external stakeholders, there are internal stakeholders, both are important. Both bring in a very critical input, and it's very important to consult them, learn from them, and build a consensus across. Because then the external stakeholders will at least hold us to the ground. They are from our locality, they are from where our students perhaps get jobs. Yeah? Internal are our own people who always want to do something big. So together, we get into a balance which is workable, manageable, realistic. Yeah, next one please. Yeah. So, yeah, run it fully, the slide, yeah. Run it, whole page you run it. Yeah. So, there are different steps which we have discussed so far. Some happen before, some during. It's a phase-wise we are going to implement. As we said, we start with NEP, letter and spirit, which is, I think, absolutely critical. Yeah, very, very critical. Because what happened is, now the policy is about close to 5.5 years old. And after that, lot of UGC circulars, new program structure, everything has come. We get caught into those details. 4 year, it should be this way, how many credits, certificate is how many, diploma is how many, all these, we get into this. But in this whole jungle of details, we should not lose the spirit of what the policy stands for. Therefore, that becomes the priority. Then, keeping our reality, prepare a baseline with strength, weakness, opportunity, challenge, analysis. What happened? Okay, fine. Analysis. Then prepare a roadmap, and then we start implementing. The roadmap becomes critical because we go phase-wise. We may want to achieve, we may want to reach somewhere, but that can't happen overnight. Perhaps we will have to look at in terms of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, then 15 years, at least 4 or 5 levels of, phases we have to. So these are the steps as an institution, as somebody who's a responsible member of the institution, I need to keep in mind if I'm serious about IDP. Yeah, next please. Yeah, I mean this is an extension of that. When we do a SWOT analysis, we also recognize what are the gaps in our system. What is it that we have not focused? What is our strength on which we can play more? Where are we weak, where we need to seek help or work towards, and that moves us towards our aspirational goals. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah. Yeah. Please run the next also. Yeah. So when we make SWOT analysis, there are internal factors, there are external factors. There are internal factors are, what is perhaps with our control, little more in our control. External are usually external in terms of the world, the employment, or funding, which may be little out of our control. There are some examples of that, but they could be different for each institution. What is strength here may not be the strength elsewhere. So we need to look at the strength, weakness, opportunity, challenges. So we leverage on our strength, work towards overcoming our weaknesses so that we can leverage on the opportunity and cross all the challenges that we have on the way. So the group that sets to do it must seriously do this very objective analysis. There is no point saying we are doing well. I think it's better to be little, not so gung-ho about it, very, very critical about where we are, because that will help us. In fact, I remember the small college where I worked, we were one of the first 25 colleges which went for assessment way back in 95. Yeah, 95. NAC was just around the corner, had just come in. And when some of us moved the idea that we should go, management said, no, we are a small college, small town, if the grade becomes less, then it will be a problem for us. And our argument, which I still sincerely believe is what we should always take the stand as, I am more interested in assessment to begin with rather than accreditation. If my assessment is objective and if I work towards what my assessment tells me, accreditation will anyway flow. It will come. It might take some more time, but it will come. So I think it becomes very important. Next one, sir. Yeah. I think this is something that I feel very strongly. The first three are Gaurish has already actually covered, so let me also not go detail, because what has happened is the kind of policy restriction we have lived with since independence. As an institution, let's say as a college in some small corner in the country, I am more reactive. The government is saying something, state is saying something, I do it. Or there is a challenge, something, I try to solve. It has been more reactive. Okay. Now, NEP opens the possibility that we can be proactive, go beyond compliance. Now I can visualize what I want to be. Okay. At least policy has opened that door. I think it's one of the most progressive policies that we have had. So we should use that opportunity, and therefore NEP in its spirit wants us to independently chart the course of our institution in a larger context of national priorities. But this is where there is a challenge. Who is somebody like me, an average faculty member? If my college decides that we should get into IDP, and let's say some of us are part of the team, I come from pure teaching a certain discipline. I have invested 30, 40 years in mastering a certain discipline. Now I am teaching it. Okay. But visioning, preparing an IDP requires a much larger picture of education, of institution building, of larger society, national priorities, which may or may not be part of my natural thinking. Yeah. Therefore, I am provocatively suggesting something. I don't know who can do it. Government should ideally do it, but at least we should take, perhaps even in Vidya Bharati, it's worth exploring this. I think we should train and prepare some kind of what I call an IDP champion, who can perhaps take care of few institutions, go and train a team which is actually into the process of preparing an IDP. Because that way we will ensure that it works. As again, Chairman was saying in his initial remarks, that this is our opportunity, this time that we are in, to change many things. The demographic dividend that we are talking constantly, no nation stays with demographic dividend more than 30 to 40 years. That's a part of general biology. We will also age very soon. Right? So, in that sense, this is our window. And therefore, this becomes a good instrument to build great institution which will turn out great manpower, human resource, and which will build a national, priorities are fulfilled and it will build the nation. So I think it's very important that we invest in training people how to prepare IDP. I think this is important. In fact, I go ahead and say, Gaurish was talking of professional development as one of the components. The NEP visualizes that in 15 years' time, there will be no affiliated colleges. Everybody is supposed to become either a constituent college or a degree awarding autonomous college. Okay? Now, what does it mean to go from being a college to a university? Which is also one of the requirements of a professional development. In fact, I worked in a large engineering college which became a university within two years of my going there. And all of us were struggling. What does it mean to be a university? We were just imitating what the state university to which we were affiliated. In which case, why did we become one? Okay. So therefore, I think it is important to prepare the human resource in higher education so that we use these levers that they have given us, IDP being an important one, to build great institution which will help to build a great nation. Next one, please. Yeah. I'll not go into the detail, but higher education has a large social and academic mission, and what we are doing through NEP, through IDP, is using higher education to meet the social and academic mission of higher education. There is a social mission of access, equity, integrating skills. There is also the other thing of promoting holistic education, multidisciplinarity. So this is the IDP is a lever to achieve many of these things. Yeah, next one. This is the last one. This has been talked by the previous session. Gaurish also mentioned. I'll not go into it, but only one thing. These levers are not just for implementing IDP. Beyond that, it also means it enables to fulfill social academic mission of higher education in fulfilling the national mission of Viksit Bharat by 2047. That's our window of time we have, next few years. And that's where we need to work on. Thank you very much. Is it okay? Time-wise?
Both Joshis, Professor Gaurish and Professor Rajendra, made a wonderful presentation. And I'm sure that whatever you have pondered upon, that we have all adopted NEP, or we are in the process of adopting NEP. But NEP, you both rightly said, that NEP clearly articulates the aspiration of creating large, multidisciplinary, autonomous and research-oriented institutions that must function as a center of excellence. And what does it mean, center of excellence? Because center of excellence does not limit to ranking or infrastructure, but it lies in the institution's ability to nurture competent professionals, ethical leaders, more important, critical thinkers, innovators, and most important, responsible citizens. It is not important to become a man of success, but it is important to become a man of character. Thank you very much. And now this house is open and we can take your questions. Firstly, give your brief introduction before asking the question, and then you can put your question in very brief. Yes, please. Yes. You have, हाँ, ये माइक लाइए, हाँ, yes.
Thank you very much. Myself, I am Dr. Prakash Sharma. I am Pro-President to Jagannath University, NAC A-Grade University. And thank you very much for providing me the opportunity to speak on. My question is basically related to consultancy and funds to be generated for private universities. As rightly pointed out by both the Professor Joshis, I would just like to add on a supplement in my question before the question is being put forward. Number one is, of course, we are NAC A-grade university, and next time also, because the new 10 grade system has come wherein
You have
either we will be-
emphasized twice that you are NAC A grade.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So, but what I am saying is, before I am putting forward my question, that if 10 grade system comes and binary 1 or 0 or 1, either accredited or non-accredited comes, still we will be accredited. That is our confidence. But the thing is, because in previous system, consultancy and generating the fund was the prime importance. In 10 grade system, if still we are not focusing on consultancy and funds to be generated in private university, still we will get the, say, accreditation. But the question lies, how to generate the fund in private universities? No, promoters never give. Promoters never give. They keep on asking. Yeah. Sir, how the, yeah, correct. Yes. How could IDP can help us, like
What-
private universities, to generate the funds?
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. One thing is you talked about through consultancy. I think that's a entirely different ball game altogether. You need that kind of capabilities. If you through your assessment, if that capabilities are not developed within your institution till now, I think now it's part of your agenda in the IDP to put how to improve the institutional capabilities, faculty to get that consultancy project, etc. You asked a question about funding to the private institutions. Now I go with the spirit of any private institution, because one of the High Court in India, so they mentioned very clearly there is nothing called private, everything is public. The case was regarding the school education to call public schools. With that spirit I'm talking about, otherwise the ownership remains with you. The point is, it is all, philanthropic approach that actually the key for the entire managing and running the institution. So that's the reason if you take the law also, it gives approval for a society, trust or a not-for-profiting institution. That means basically Companies Act. So that means your funding comes from where? Your funding comes from the main source, that is a philanthropic source. Now the philanthropy doesn't mean that only the owner, single person who is actually started the institution, normally we call them as owner, but they are not the owners but the custodians of the institution. So they have to first put the money, that is what normally we think. So there are institutions, as an example, in our country, in the private sector, they are actually taking the money from many and running the institutions. And they are the big institutions I'm talking about, not a small institution. So that is the one thing, this philanthropic approach, I think how you bring that philanthropic spirit into your institution is very critical. Second one is, for what purpose you need money? That is again, to give salary or for your research activities or to develop a center of excellence. For example, today Government of India under many agencies, there are schemes to apply for center of excellence, research funding. So ICSSR is doing, ANRF is doing, you get in all the discipline, you get a lot of funding for research work. So center of excellence is again, there are schemes. In addition to that, if you are able to develop, because you are a NAC A-grade institution, I believe that you have a good faculty who can connect with the industry and get the projects. So that your capabilities that decide to get the funds from the industry. So otherwise easily will not come money for your organization. And let us not think that the NEP, IDP will get the money from government. So I think government institutions itself, they are struggling to get the money from the government, and I don't think so for the private institutions in the future also.
Let me just add, since you asked very pointedly IDP, I think with that kind of a NAC grading, and if you have good, excellent IDP document, it becomes a good way of approaching new donors. See, the biggest problem, I think there is enough money in the country and there are many willing people. But any giver has a biggest anxiety, what is my money going to do once it is given to them?
Including alumni.
Yeah, everybody. So therefore, IDP can be a good instrument to make your institution attractive for other donors to donate. I agree, one same person or same family cannot keep on giving. You will have to expand your base. But other fellow has to feel that sense of trust to give. And IDP can be a good way of publicly demonstrating that, yes, we are worth it, please invest in us.
As being in the private institution, till date, if you have in your mind that the student is a consumer, then this is the problem. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm Professor Umesh Gupta, Dean of Academic Affairs at JK Lakshmipati University, 15 years younger university, philanthropic initiative of JK organization. My pointed question is on IDP. We already have some action plans, statutes and ordinances, and action plan for all the stakeholders also, like IQAC. Now the term comes like IDP is not a kind of very new document, it's an old document. But when we say IDP, are you saying that we need to recreate it and then those statutes and ordinances will be integrated to IDP? Second question is how government enablers will facilitate private university in execution of IDP from compliance to commitment? Because nowadays we have become data centers, compliances and compliances. So how the government enablers also will enable us to go away from compliance to commitment, to be very, very honest. Thank you.
I think if you have already had many things in place, there is no need to reinvent the wheel again and again. But perhaps IDP has thought fairly comprehensively about it. In fact, the UGC document that came, which is a kind of a guide to prepare IDP, is a very good exhaustive document. Keeping that in mind, if you think there is a need to modify, tweak, I think one should go ahead. Because perhaps that was done, as you yourself said, some time back, and you have been running, and perhaps running it well, you are happy with it. But the idea is not to be happy with what we have, to grow further. So if it can help, I think it's worth making an effort to redo or revise or review what you have already. Yeah.
Just to add to the sir, you talked about even ordinance and your own institutional governance mechanism. So I think whatever that internally it is there, I think as Joshi sir said, you can go ahead. So otherwise you no need to worry about whether you have to make a statutory changes into your university. I think that takes little more time. So when the things will come in for an implementation at the government level, I think it comes to your level, so you have to make it mandatorily. So till that time you no need to worry about that. So making a comprehensive plan, whether you call it a strategic plan or an IDP, it is, I think, absolutely no problem. Your second part of the question with the enablers, how the government is going to enable this. That's where I think we are at least optimistic in terms of VBSA bill. If it comes, you don't have a multiple regulators. You'll have a single regulatory agency, faceless kind of an approach for your entire application, renewal, etc. So technology enabled. And there is nobody is there to scrutiny everything, then go behind them. So it is a faceless kind of a technology. They are going to adopt it, and a very functional based kind of an approach they are following under the verticals coming under the VBSA bill. So I think all these are in pipeline. So once is able to approved by the appropriate authorities. So hopefully at least I am optimistic in that way that many of our compliances burden will definitely reduce, because we are talking about one nation, one data, and everything goes on the commission or regulatory agency website also. So it is all AI integrated website they are thinking about. So the one data that provides whichever the format it requires, it will go. So that is what actually the promise comes from the agencies. So hopefully it will going to be implemented soon.
Yes.
Chaviko Namaskar. Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Professor Ibohol Maiti, Director Research and Development Cell, Manipur University, Imphal. I just would like to just get some insight on two counts. One is the integration of skill development in higher education. It is becoming an important component in the NEP 2020 as well. And India's skill development level is comparatively much, much lower than any other countries like South Korea, having 96%, Japan and Germany is 80 and 75 like that. So that way, the kind of a skill development activities that we are having, will it be commensurate to be a part of India's Viksit Bharat, or just India's to become the third largest economy of the India? So that's why I just would like to know some suggested models or the status whatsoever we are having. That's number one question. And number two is we are also having another component is internationalization of the Indian higher education system. So what could be the process and what could be the status and the way forward for making Indian higher education to be internationalized, and India can become the global educational destination. So a few points and observations I just would like to seek from the experts, please. Thank you, sir.
I think you're right. The skill part is critical for us as a nation aspiring to do things. Skill has few elements. One is what kind of skills. I mean, skills have shelf life. You know, the skills don't last too long. I mean, skills keep changing. Yeah. So what kind of skills are we looking for next 30, 40 years? Kind of that awareness. And secondly, we cannot, entire education cannot be skill. I think that will be undoing of education. Okay. Skill needs to be integrated. Policy very clearly is very clear on that. It's not that we are going to become a skill education place. Okay. But there is enough flexibility today in the way course and the program structure is suggested that you could always build a certain element of certain part of it for a skill. Skill perhaps for which training facility is available in your vicinity. Perhaps your place is known for something which can be the advantage for your students to be skilled in, and they can go forward. So that is one way of looking at the skill part of it. Yeah.
Just to add, now as an university, you can definitely float course, integrate very much with your 4-year undergraduate program. Specifically, it's possible to have a vocational minor also with the new credit structure given by the UGC. So one is the skill integration as a course of 3 credit, 4 credit, as a generic skills or even the professional skills. Or also you can go for a vocational minor in the major minor combinations. You can go for a vocational minor in your 4-year undergraduate program. That is possible. The whole mission is to empower the youth for build their own career and contribute to the overall development of the economy. So that's where we talk about Viksit Bharat. So that's the first part of your.
Take a mic.
As per the NISQF, National Higher Education Qualification Framework, integration is trying to be made in the general education as for the skill, the element, the skill enhancement paper. That is very, very nominal. And that's why maybe about 4 credit points in a semester.
No, don't go in details with it.
So that's why
the main Professor, the main thing is.
Main issue is I just want I will come to the point. As the credit is so small, that's why even if it is integrated, it doesn't give much of the impactful result. That's number one point. Number two, in some of the states, skill universities are coming up so that they can just come out a specialized kind of skills for employability and also aligning with the industry demand. So that's why, can we just have some sort of a program and policies for the national level?
Now I'm stopping
One
you here.
skill university
Professor, I am stopping you here because we have a less time and we have other.
Sure.
Thank you, one thing, it is very clear that there is a NHEQF. Have you gone through with the NHEQF? And we also have a NHSQF. Now, how to have a proper align in between these two, that is very important. For example, I am giving the example of my university. What I have done, in my university, every student, whether the student is an undergraduate or a postgraduate student, we have made it compulsory that every student who will pass out, we will not award a degree until and unless the student will earn at least the 10 credits the skill enhancement course. That we have made it compulsory. So slowly and steadily we are taking the steps here.
Like the 4 credits which you are talking about is first year exit point. That is a 4 credit for the vocational program. And that too, if they exit, then that's the applicable. So otherwise, within the credit structure, you have more credits to offer. That's what I said. You can go for a minor in vocational. And NHUKF, the integration, what is the graduate attributes at the different semester level, that is basically talking about the 21st century skills or employability skills. And I think clearly we need to distinguish these two. I think then only it is possible to, whether we can take it at the generic skill level or the vocational skill level.
We can take one more quick question. You want? Okay. Let her and then after.
Namaskar. The session was very informative and very useful, though it was very difficult to listen any session after having a lunch. Sir, I am Dr. Seema Agarwal, currently principal of a 60-year-old women college in Jaipur. My question is that we have been NAC accredited, but whenever we do all these accreditation process, people told us you have to reframe your vision. Is it necessary to reframe?
No, not at all.
We have been advised
This is
by...
why when the neck is coming, that was the Professor Joshi was mentioning that at least a year before, they started a great planning that whitewash and all. But vision cannot be changed in between.
Founders were very visionary. The vision were to extend the outreach of women's education, to empower through capacity building, and we know that definition of capacity building changed from time to time. To inculcate them to inform choices available. So we all find that there is no reason to change the vision, shift the vision.
I think vision, I think we will not change at 5 years. We will not be able to achieve a vision in 5 years in many a times. So changing vision is not advisable. Mission can be changed to achieve that vision.
Process can be changed, but vision is the same.
There is one thing that people have not understood. See, all this vision come from a different philosophy. Otherwise, olden days, with 60-year-old college you're talking about, that is not their vision, that is their purpose.
Yes.
So I think in such case, if you have a next level vision, you can always revisit. So otherwise, changing of vision for every NAC accreditation is a crime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No, and it's your vision. Nobody else has a right to say what your vision should be. That's your vision.
Thank you so much, sir, for this very insightful session. I am Professor Neeru Tandon, Principal Vikramajit Singh Sanatan Dharm College, Kanpur, and it is 105 years old institution, and it has got its legacy like Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay ji was our student, alumni, hostler. So we have that kind of punya bhumi over there. Coming to the thing that you mentioned, and it was very eye-opening, when we talk about IDP, just one question, like you mentioned many stakeholders. So which stakeholder should have the maximum influence on IDP design and why? And how to resolve conflicting expectations among stakeholders? This is one thing. And a second part, just to mention that now we are talking about NAC. We are eagerly waiting when the doors will open and we will go ahead. Like we have a vision to convert it into an autonomous college. But the thing is that NAC is like Godot is still waiting. So this is something, anything sooner we are going to get it or we'll have to wait again. Thank you so much.
I think your second part of the question is as open to anybody as it is. How to...
You have a special session on the IDP and assessment accreditation. Maybe the next session.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I just want to quickly take a minute, sir. You know, a stakeholder who is important. It just brought me, I remembered what had happened, I mean, which I read in the history of that institution. IIM Ahmedabad. First director of IIM Ahmedabad, we normally don't realize it, was Vikram Sarabhai. He was a temporary director before Mathai was brought in as the first director of IIM Ahmedabad. And because of Vikram Sarabhai, it went to Ahmedabad. Perhaps it was otherwise gone to Bombay because the first one was in Calcutta already. Yeah, because their family he brought it there. He wanted it to be an undergraduate education college. BBA, if you want to use today's language. But before that, he had set a simple line saying that this will be a faculty-driven institution. So somebody has written a book on IIM Ahmedabad. He has recounted that staff meeting where there was a heated argument for 2 hours between faculty and Vikram Sarabhai. He fighting for undergraduate. They say no, it has to be, the graduates will come in, so it's a postgraduate, what it is today. Yeah. In the end, Vikram Sarabhai took out dramatically his white hanky and said, peace, since we have said that this will be faculty-driven institution, it shall be so, even though I don't agree with this. So you have to decide who is the most important stakeholder.
Thank you very much. Now we are stopping here. With this hope that whatever the Panchamrit Professor both Joshi has given, we have taken it, and I am very much hopeful that this journey towards the higher educational institution center of excellence requires viewing challenges not as a constraint but as opportunities for innovation and leadership. Institutional development plan must be more inclusive, must be data driven, must be outcome oriented, and more important, must be future ready. Ensuring alignment with both NEP 2020 and the long-term vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. And I am very much hopeful that who is taking notes of the session, and you also will help in preparing the session proceedings, and the outcome will be very useful and will be submitted at the right platform for decision making. And we are, at the end, we are thankful to Vidya Bharati Higher Education for giving us an opportunity to be here and to have this very useful and brainstorming session. Thank you all.
As we come to the end of the session, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to our session chair and speakers for the insightful discussion, and to our audience for engaging in meaningful dialogue and their patient listening. Also, piece of information, at 5 o'clock we'll be having a common session in the main auditorium, and at 6:45 p.m. we can all assemble here for the second thematic session on IDP. Thank you.